Huge thanks to our sponsors for making ResolveCon 24 possible. Motion VFX makes the best plugins for DaVinci Resolve. They have plugins to quickly add beautiful graphics to any kind of project you're working on, and they're compatible with both Mac and Windows. And right now you can get their mHello 3D for free. This is a pack of super useful 3D shapes that you can add to any video and take your visuals up a notch. Just click right here or the link in the description. And of course, ResolveCon would not be possible without Blackmagic Design. They just came out with the full release of DaVinci Resolve 19. For editing, color, effects, and audio, it's pretty much everything you need to make any kind of project in DaVinci Resolve. You can download DaVinci Resolve 19 right here or in the link in the description.
So, hi everyone, I am Chloe, if you don't know me, and I'm mostly known as FrenchieColor Grading here on the internet. I work as a freelance colorist, mostly also on commercials, and I have a YouTube channel where I share my discoveries on color grading, my workflow in color grading, but also because I am a self-taught colorist and I've made a lot of mistakes when I was a beginner. My channel is here to accelerate your growth and for you to avoid the mistakes. So first thing I want to say before we go to the presentation, good morning everyone, because where I am, it is 4 a.m. So yes, you are the first people I am interacting with today. So it's going to be a good day, I'm sure. And I put my glasses to hide my eye bags. So today, I just want to, put a sort of a flashback in your mind before we go to Resolve. Just a small flashback where you were fresh and young and it was spring 2023. DaVinci Resolve released the 18.5 version of the software, and there were a lot of new features. And I remember that there was one new feature that completely revolutionized the way I was experiencing color grading. Before I tell you what it was, what were your features that you loved out of the 18.5? If you remember, right? The features that were new in the 18.5. Let me check the chat. I don't have any answer. Okay. Maybe you like Relight. Maybe you like Depth Map that came out in the 18.5. For me, my personal favorite was the single node composite mode in the color page. It was revolutionary. And when I say revolutionary, you could tell me, Chloe, it's not really revolutionary because before, in the color page, we had the layer mixer where you could imply a composite mode and then do a compositing in the color page. Yes, but I just feel that the layer mixer is not as straightforward as a single node, for example. And I always have issues to use a layer mixer in my workflow for commercial color grading because for commercial color grading, I need to go very fast during my sessions, in the sense of like, I need the marketing agency approbation, and after I need the client, the final client approbation within the same day. And sometimes the marketing agency will come in my room, my grading room, and the client will come 1 hour just after them. So I need to go really fast. So the layer mixer is a bit less straightforward than the node composite mode, the single node composite mode. And that's why, for me, it changed everything. So today for the presentation, we're going to talk about then this tool that I am sure you're probably overlooking, or maybe you tried one day, just out of the blue, and you were like, okay, I'm going to try one composite mode. It became super bright or it became super dark, and you were like, never, I will try again, right? So today we are going to try it together in the best way possible. And I just want to include everybody in this presentation. So if you are a beginner or if you are intermediate to advanced, I am sure you're going to take something out of this presentation. This is my aim. And I want to include everybody. So I'm going to go to the definition of composite modes. So first, we're going to see what are composite modes. So then everyone is on the same level of understanding. And after, we're going to see why we should use composite mode in our color grading workflow. And after, at the end, we're going to see how to use composite mode. And by how to use it, we're going to do 3 use cases that I am sure you're going to enjoy, because this is the fun part of the presentation. And I hope you're going to take at least one of the use case for you to after implement in your color grading workflow. So I've prepared some slides because I'm a bit scholar, you know. I like when the words are just lied visually. And I'm just going to put everything just full screen, and we're just going to talk about composite mode together. So composite modes are effects that use various mathematical operations to combine one superimposed clip with another. So this definition comes from the DaVinci Resolve manual, but this definition is scattered more for the edit page because it insinuates that you need 2 clips. The difference that we have in the color page is that instead of thinking of clips, we are thinking of layers. So instead of having superimposed clip, we have superimposed layers. So I'm just going to show you. So this is Patat, my rabbit. If you don't know her, she's lovely. And she's going to be our guinea pig for these composite modes. So what's happening behind the scene of the single node composite mode is this thing. So technically, this is the only time we're going to touch on layer mixer. After, during the presentation, it's going to be only single node composite mode. But here, I need to show you what's happening under the hood for you to comprehend a bit better what's happening in your single node composite mode. So in your layer mixer, you have layer 1 and layer 2. So if you don't know layer mixer, the layer that is at the bottom is priority over the layer at the top. Okay? So technically, if I want to put them, you know, in the right order, that would be layer 1 first and after layer 2. Okay? So here, what we have is that we have a base layer that's going to be the base of our blend layer over here. So technically, the layer 1 will be the blend over our layer 2. And so I'm just going to show you, for example, what you can do. So I'm just going to type color generator and just show you like what I mean by that. When I put a color generator, if you see over the layer 1, it will take just in consideration my layer 1. And why I don't have any view on the layer 2, it's because the opacity of the layer 1 is opaque. Okay? If, for example, I go and right-click on the composite mode and I just add the composite mode color, my layer 1 will blend on the layer 2. So don't worry, I will explain to you what color does after. But what you need to just remember for this section is that our layer 1 is the blend layer, because when I disable the layer 1, we will have the base layer, layer 2, that will have no modification. But if I disable layer 2, we're going to come back to what we had with the layer 1 when we drop our color generator without any composite mode set. Okay? So, for example, then, if I do it on a single node and I drop the color generator on the single node, and then I go for composite mode and I put color, I have the same result as what I had with the layer mixer. So technically, what's happening behind the scene of your single node composite mode is what's happening on a layer mixer. Okay? So let's come back to our definition. And we can see that then in the color page, the single node composite mode can affect a modification. So by modification, I mean an adjustment in the sense of like you can take your primaries or other tool from DaVinci and then do your adjustment. So it can affect an adjustment, an OFX. So like what I've done with Color Generator, I took an OFX from the FX tab and I drop it on my node, or the node itself. So you can apply a composite mode on a node without any modification or OFX. Okay? So composite mode then in general will be used to help create transparency effects, increase or decrease the image exposure, and combine the effects in many creative ways. Okay, so something that I should tell you, and I'm a bit shy of it. When I explore a new tool, I won't read anything about the new tool. I will just like try things by myself. I try, and I see if it works or not. And so what's happened with the composite mode is that when I was trying by myself, there's so many composite mode that it is very easy to get lost. I was just like trying over composite mode, but I was never remembering what composite mode were doing, which one were doing what, and how I could actually handle my composite mode. So what is good is that there is a lot of articles on the internet made by designers, but also colorists that group composite modes in families. And this is actually pretty good. So technically, we are grouping the composite mode in 6 families. The 6 families are normal, darken, lighten, contrast, inversion, and component. And so why I call that families is just because the composite modes that are inside these groups have kind of the same behavior. Okay, so we're going to see each families together and what are the effects on the node. So first, we have the normal family. And so the normal family will just apply a normal blend over our image. And so this family is only composed by the composite mode normal. So if you see, I'm going to come back to Patate because she's beautiful. And if you see, if I go and I right click to my node and I go to composite mode, by default, my node is set to normal. And so normal is just the normal way of blending adjustment effects on a node. So the only thing, the only transparency effect that you can do, for example, if I go over with my gain, the only transparency effect that I can do, I go to my node key and I reduce my gain key output to reduce the opacity of the adjustment that I've done. But that's all. Okay? After this, we have the category darken. So the darken category will apply a blend that is darker as it will prioritize the darkest pixels of the image as output. So technically, it will just check if, for example, your pixels are bright or dark, and it will only make the dark pixels opaque and the light pixel transparent. So this is the general behavior. Of course, there is like some customization, compared to the composite mode. So there's some composite modes that will react in a different way within this family, but technically this is the general behavior. So multiply, color burn, linear burn, darken, and darker colors come from this darken family. And so technically, what you need to just remember from the darken family is that your result will be generally darker. Okay, so in darken, for example, I can put a darken composite mode, which could be multiply. And so you can see that patate becomes completely dark. Okay. So now we have, now we have the lighten family. So lighten family is actually a family that will do the contrary of darken. It will apply a blend that is lighter, as it will prioritize the lightest pixels of the image as output. So technically, then your bright pixel become opaque and your dark pixel become transparent. So in this family, you have screen, color dodge, linear dodge, lighter color, and lighten. And so here, if I put a lighten operation on patate, it will be, for example, I'm going to put a screen composite mode. It will be brighter than what we had before. Okay, and so if you see, the darken operation is the complete opposite as the lighten operation, and so then you have just the contrary of it. It's quite cool. After this, we have the family that is called contrast. And so the contrast is a blending mode that will check if the pixel is brighter or darker than 50% gray. So technically, if it's brighter than 50% gray, it will apply a lighten operation. And if it's darker, it will apply a darken operation. And so the 50% gray is going to be transparent. And so then in terms of result, it will most of the time crank your contrast. So then you have in the family, the composite mode pin light, hard mix, overlay, soft light, hard light, vivid light, and linear light. And so then if I put a composite mode that comes from the contrast family as, for example, overlay, I'm going to have a complete crank contrast that happens on patate. And if you just see, this is the combination of the darken and the lighten together, and you have this. After, the second last family that we have is the inversion family. So this group will look for a variation between the blend layer and the base layer. If you remember, the blend layer is layer 1 that we saw in the layer mixer, and the base layer is layer 2 that we saw in the layer mixer. Okay, so you have in this family difference, subtract, exclusion, and divide. And I'm going to show you what it does. So here, because we need to see the variation between the base layer and the blend layer, then I needed to create a matte out of my node, just like to show you what's the effect of it. So here, I'm going to go to composite mode and I'm going to add difference. And so in difference, nothing really happens, you know, because actually my matte is at the same point as my hero shot. But if I move my matte just a tiny bit, you can see that there's a ghosting effect that will be created. And then that will pinpoint for me what are the difference that I have from my matte that is here and my base layer that is here. Okay? And after, at the end, the last family, we have the family of components. And so the component uses different combination of the hue, saturation, and luminance to create the blend. So in this, it's actually pretty easy to understand because it will only apply a composite mode on one of these components. So hue, saturation, luminance. And so then in this component family, you are having color, hue, luminosity, and saturation. And so I'm just going to show you what it does. For this example, let's just crank, let's just crank the contrast for patate. And let's just go overboard with the pink. That's amazing. It looks like a pink flamingo. So what I can do, I can say to DaVinci, okay, the colors are way too strong. I only want to keep the contrast. What I can do is just that I can go to composite mode and I can just select luminosity, because luminosity is the luminance level of my node, and say I only want to keep luminosity, and it will only keep for me the contrast that I have created. Okay, so now that we saw everything about composite mode, I hope that you guys understand a bit better what are composite mode. Just a bit better, you know. And you understand a tiny bit better the behavior of each composite mode. So now we're going to see why you should use composite mode. And so my big idea in this presentation is that composite mode can really help your process in your grading and also boost your creativity. The fact that you are having a node, just in one node, that can affect your exposure, your colors, but also your effects, like in another way than just a combiner node, is actually pretty interesting for us and open the door to a lot of possibilities. So I want to play a game with you. Like, I want to just have a role play. So here, just imagine you are in my daily life. So the daily life of FrenchieColor grading is that she's going to the grading room, doing her commercial grading, tech, you know. Okay, so I'm having a commercial where patate is the star. And the agency gave me their reference, and I have a superb lot that's going to be the perfect lot for this commercial. So I'm going to go to my lot, and I'm going to put my lot, and I drop my lot, and I'm like, okay, perfect. That's amazing, you know. What's happening is that I'm going to have the agency that's going to walk in and go behind me and watch my monitor. The agency arrives and they're like, perfect. That's amazing. We love the color, but please, the contrast is a bit much, you know, I'm having it a lot. They always they're always scared of the contrast. So that's a good tip for you guys. So they will be like, the contrast is a bit too much. Can we tone down the contrast? So as I know that most of the contrast comes from my lot, what I can do is that I can go to my lot and I can go to my node key and reduce the intensity of my lot. But the problem is that after I will need to create another node to compensate the color I've lost, and also another node to after recreate a contrast that is softer than what I had. Okay, because I need to go very fast, as like normally the client will enter in 30 minutes. I don't have time actually to do this on all the shots. So what I can do is that so I'm just resetting everything. I can use a composite mode to my advantage to actually earn some time, so be faster, and at the same time, like, ease my life. you know. So I'm just going to right click, and as we've seen with a lot of example, because actually I really like this composite mode, so maybe that's why I'm using it so much in this presentation. But we can go to the composite mode color to say to ask to DaVinci to only take the color characteristic of my LUT and remove all the contrast of my LUT. And so you're going to see when I'm going to click on color, it's going to remove all the contrast. And so here now, I have just the characteristics of my LUT in terms of colors that the agency loved so much, but without the contrast. And so thanks to this, I don't lose my color. And what I can do is just then create a node before and tailor the contrast the way I want. Okay, so this demonstration is to show you the potential of composite mode and the fact that actually like you can really be faster with it and also have maybe sometimes a better craft. So now we're going to go to the fun part of the presentation, which is how to use composite mode. And so in this how to use composite mode, I'm going to present to you 3 use cases. So these use cases will be first a density use case. So it also completes what Daria was saying yesterday. So this density tool is another method to create density over your footage and at the same time create a beautiful contrast on your footage. So we're going to see this together. It's going to be nice. After, we're going to do, as a second use case, we're going to create a promise filter from scratch. And so we're going to use composite modes to help us to create this promise filter. And the last use case is a use case that actually I've never talked about on the internet, but actually that sometimes can really save my bum. This is how to make a color of a product look consistent throughout your video, thanks to composite mode. Okay, so before we are jumping to anything, I'm just going to show you really quickly my color management, so then you are not too lost of what's going on. I am in a DaVinci Wide Gamut, so I go from a Sony to a DaVinci Wide Gamut. And I output in a Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. If you have no clue of what that means, DaVinci Wide Gamut, don't worry. You can do the same with your color space transform in Rec 709. Okay? So I'm going to show you the first use case. And the first use case will be the density use case. So I created a node here at the end of my node tree because as this density is an effect, I want it to have the characteristic of an effect. I am putting this at the end of my node tree because I wanted to take all my grading in consideration, all my adjustments in consideration, and just create the density from this. Okay, so this density node is the simplest thing. You just right click, you go to composite mode, and after you just go to overlay, like we've done with Patat, the same. Obviously, we won't let her like this because right now this is a bit too crank, right? So what you can do is just that you can go to your node key in the key output, and you're going to decrease the gain to something like around 20%. So I really like to put this density node around 20% because for me, it's kind of like the sweet spot of it's not too contrasty, but at the same time, it's a good contrast to separate my character to the background. So for example, this is before our node, and this is after our node. And so if you see the advantage of this node is just that in one node, you having contrast plus density that are behaving quite natural in a natural way. And also because we are adding a bit of density to this contrast, we are having her skin a bit more like that takes a tiny bit more gold from the light that was shining on her, and then makes the image tie together a bit better. Okay, so this is the first use case, and I hope if you didn't know it, that you're going to take it and use it in your color grading workflow. After this, we're going to use this footage to create a sort of a promise filter. So why it is important for a colorist to know how to recreate a promise filter in color grading is just because that sometimes there's like some commercials or short films or film like feature films, etc., that want to use a promise filter. But the problem is that the DP maybe won't make the choice of using the promise filter for maybe VFX reason. So if you don't know what is a promise filter, the promise filter will actually blur the edges of the highlights to make this very soft and dreamy feel. Sometimes then DPs are making the choice to not use it on set just because there will be like some VFX that has to be done in the footage, and because you are blurring the line of the highlights, if you need to do a sky replacement, sometimes it can be very hard for the VFX team, so they would actually prefer something that is sharper because it's easier to track and at the same time it's easier to replace. So then it is in our duty as colorists to help the DP to achieve the look that they want. They wanted from a promise filter that they just avoided on set. Okay, so here we're gonna create this promise filter thanks to a composite mode. I saw that there's some people on the internet that can create a promise filter with glow. I like glow. The problem is that I just feel that I don't have enough settings, or maybe I don't have enough deep knowledge in glow to make it look as good as I want. So promise is like, sorry, not promised, but the composite mode is for me the best way to go about it because you can really tailor it. So if you followed a bit the families, what kind of families you think would be good to create this promise filter? Just asking if I see, maybe I see a bit the chat, but I have a delay, I think. So because I have a delay on the chat, I'm just going to tell you the answer straight away. Yeah, it's going to be lighten. Yes, exactly. That's going to be lighten operation. So then for the promised, we're going to apply a lighten operation because we want to select our highlights. Okay. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go to composite mode, and we're going to go to screen, which is one composite mode in the lighten operation. And so in screen, when I put it this way, I'm going to have a blown out image, but don't worry about it. I'm going to tailor it for you. Okay. So if you want a promise filter, you need a bit of blurring edges. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go to our blur tab and we're going to raise our radius. And so when you're going to raise your radius, everything's going to be blurry. Okay. Don't worry about this. We're going to change it. We're going to go to our curves. And so in curves, I can create a point and I can go down in my curves. And so then I can create a very nice roll-off on my talent to have a coherent promised filter. So if you see, now we have like a softer highlight on her face and softer highlights around her. And so it helps to create this dreamy look that, for example, maybe they wanted to achieve on set. Okay, so this is how you do. Why I like this method is just because if I don't want to have as much blur, I can reduce the blur. And if I don't, I want to have a very bright image, I can reduce my curvature or not, you know. So the last use case is how to make a color of a product consistent throughout your film. And maybe if you're a bit observator, maybe you saw that you have the color management that appear in my note tree. So if you compare to what I had, this one were in a group. Now I have my color management here. This is normal. I want to create this effect after my Rec 709 output, because I want the color of the product to be in a display refer color space, because technically I want this color to be, broadcasted the way it's supposed to be in in any devices, right? So, for example, I'm just gonna put it in a nice way. Okay, so for example, right, when I have a commercial with a product, I can receive a document like this from the agency. So I'm just gonna put this in full screen, and you can see my talents of designer. I've put it together, so I am sorry for that. So sometimes I receive this kind of documents where the agency, the marketing agency, would ask me to actually follow this kind of color for the product. And sometimes they can give me a code, a hex code, or RGB color value. And sometimes it's rare, but it happens. Sometimes I have the CMYK. When they do this, it's because they are very particular on the color of the product. And so then it needs to be very consistent throughout the whole film. And sometimes it can be difficult because you have changing of light, you have changing of environment, or it depends on the position of the bottle, etc., etc. So it is pretty difficult, to handle. So if, for example, I just tackle it without not any technique, it's just that I want to tackle it the intuitive way, I will just try to check the color of my product and try to match it by myself by just qualifying my gray. But the problem is that as my background is quite close, it's difficult. So then I will create a window that is not that great, but whatever. And I would denoise because everything is noisy. And then I would try to maybe go to the color wrapper and go towards the color I want. The problem is that this is looking nice because it's a KV, right? But this is not really looking nice. And the problem is that we create a lot of issues in our image by, like just qualifying with the HSL. So the other solution then is to be inspired by the VFX teams when, for example, they are doing some retouching for products, or some consistency of color for products. So just for background, I was a post-production assistant for a time, and I was assisting VFX teams. And so this technique is inspired from the compositing that I was doing with some VFX teams. And we're going to reapply the same logic as compositing on our footage. So what we need to do to tackle this is to create a selection of just our bottle. And so for this, because our HSL didn't work, what we're going to do is that we're going to create a selection with our magic mask, because this is one of the tools that's going to be like the most precise within our tools. Okay. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a node before my node in the beginning of my node tree. If you don't know how to create a node before, it's Shift S. And I'm going to disconnect. Sorry, I'm going to disconnect this link, and I'm just going to link the source to my slog to DWG. Okay. So now I have a node where I can create my magic mask. Why I do this is just because I want my magic mask to be at the beginning of my node tree, because each time you are doing a modification before your magic mask, you will need to retrack again and again. So for me to avoid to retrack, I will just put it at the source, and then I will do my selection, track just once. And because I never touch after the source, then I won't have to retrack. Okay. So for this, I will go to my magic mask over here, and I will take the selection tool, and I will select my bottle. And so to see what was selected, I will take this selection tool. I think that's, I don't know if the name of it, I think is selection or something like this. No, it's toggle mask overlay. Sorry. So I take the toggle mask overlay and I just see what was selected, and I have a bit of white. So I just delete the white that was happening. Okay. So now I'm going to track my footage, and I think that is good. Oh, actually, I am sorry. I wanted to put in better, because better like will wrap my edges a bit better. Okay, so I'm just retracking. Tack. And I see that my fingers are taken in consideration. So I take my minus selection tool, and I just remove my fingers on the 3 frames that I have here. Okay. And I think that's okay after. Good. So now that I have my selection done, I can go to the node that I want to do for the color of my product. So we have a key visual where we have actually an information. Sorry, we have an information that is very valuable. You have the X code, which is the FFA 500. And the RGB color values, which is the 255, the the 165. Oh my God, and 0. Okay. So I'm gonna take this information to apply on my product instead of trying to match by eye, because I know that with the code it's gonna be more precise than my eyes. Okay, so I will go to the FX, and I will use the color generator. I will drop the color generator over my image, and in color, in the hex color code, I'm just gonna type FFA 500. And so when I put this code, I'm having the color that I have here. Okay. So now, how do I link this to the mask that I've done? Super easy. You're going to go to the key output, which is the blue square here. And you're going to link to the key input, which is the blue arrow here. And so when I do this, I'm having the mask that, I just noticed that we have a finger that's left. See? Then this color generator is very good to know if your magic mask is good or not. So then I have my patch of color, that is over my bottle. And to make it look more natural, then I can use a composite mode. And this composite mode is going to be color. And so when I use color, it will blend very naturally on the bottle. And so what I can do, now that I know that this is in the good realm in terms of color, because this follow the same color code that the agency sent me, I can just check if the color is as natural as the lighting condition that I had on the KV. And so, for example, if it's a bit, if this is a bit too saturated, you can go to your product node, you go to your node key, and you just decrease a tiny bit to make it a bit more natural and to match what the agency sent me. And so, of course, you know, here this is a perfect lighting where you don't have a ray of light or on it or anything like this. But this method can be really useful when you put it on other shots, just because you can reduce the gain of what you are doing over your product. But because you reduce the gain, it will still keep the characteristic of the color that you put over. So then it depends on the scenes, but you can adapt then this opacity on the lighting condition that you have in the shot. So this is the end of my presentation. I hope by doing this presentation, I made you just feel a bit more enthusiastic over composite mode, and made you just like want to try to use composite mode in your workflow. So yeah, I encourage you to experience with it, to just experiment and just sometimes come out like with your own little tools.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Hey, that was so great. Man, yeah, there's a lot to those composite modes, and I definitely didn't realize all the cool stuff you could do with those. That's so awesome. Thank you.
Of course.
Man.
Of
All right,
course.
so we have a few questions here. Here comes the question. It says this: do the composition modes behave differently based on the color space that we're grading on?
Technically, it won't. It actually won't. How you call that? It won't behave differently because inherently it's blending modes. So it will react the same way as different color spaces. But of course, for example, if you are doing an adjustment that is in DaVinci White Gamut over an adjustment that is in Rec 709, as your adjustment is not behaving the same way, then you will have the feeling that your composite mode will not behave the same way. But technically, the composite mode will behave the same way.
Awesome. All right. Which family or mode is your favorite and most used one?
Actually, like the three use cases that I showed you are use cases that I use pretty often. I would say that the use case that I use the most often is actually the density one. The density use case is often a composite mode that I will use at the end of my node tree just to tie up my look.
Nice. All right. Have you got, what was that? Have you got any destructive problems overlaying and mixing different composite types on footage? Tips for labeling them?
So yes, you can have some destructive effects with composite mode, because of course, like if you are overdoing, for example, I am just going to show you on my Resolve. If you are overdoing your overlay node, for example, and after you put, I don't know, let's say a linear burn, I can break the image very easily. So then you will need just to be careful with that when you are mixing two composite modes, just because it can go overboard very quickly. So just be mindful and look at your scope when it happens.
All right. Does this product matching workflow work the same as a DaVinci Automatic color managed project, not using CSTs?
So you can use, actually, like in the use case that I've done, the density node and the promise filter, you can use it in DaVinci YRGB color manage. Why I made the decision to go in CST is also to present you guys the product use case, because I needed to be outside of my color management and be in a Rec 709 space. And so then at least I could show you that you can have a grade that you do in a DaVinci Y gamut. The only thing that you should be mindful of if you are doing a compositing of color over a product, it has to be outside of your CST because you need the color to take in consideration the Rec 709 color space. But that's all. Otherwise, like if you want to do the composite mode in your DaVinci YRGB color manage, you can do it.
Great, awesome. And where can we see more content based on your bunny rabbit? Is there?
If you want to see more of Patat, I put her sometimes on YouTube, so at the FrenchieColor grading channel, but also on Instagram. Where I just like film her. Like I filmed her this morning when I woke up super early. She was asked, like, just making a face like, oh, why are you so early? That's not normal, right? So yeah, on my Instagram also, so you can follow me on Frenchie_CT. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, Chloe, this was amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and all this cool stuff that we didn't really think about until now. So it's new ideas. So great.
It's just like for me, when it happened, like when it was released in the 18.5, it was, like in just one node you could create so many things that I just find that I really wanted to share with you guys and maybe change your perspective on color grading.
Yeah. Well, that was really, really powerful stuff. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And yeah, hope you have a great rest of your morning. Thank you for getting up early for us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, let's give Chloe a hand. That was wonderful. Wonderful. So, all right, we have some giveaway winners and it's going to happen. So if your name is Carlos Hermosillo, I think I might have even did that right. You just won a micro panel. Oh, wait. No, it's a mini panel. You won this thing, baby. That's awesome. All right. And then, Martin, you won an Action VFX voucher. Congratulations. Get to get your VFX on. And then, Federico Carbo, you get an audio course from DV Resolve. So awesome. Congratulations, everybody. Congratulations. Hey, if you didn't win anything, you still have, well, 3 more chances this afternoon. We're going to be back here. We're going to be back here in about an hour from now. And you'll be able to win some more stuff. And we're going to be talking with Patrick Sterling. If you don't know who Patrick is a fusion wizard. And this dude is just brilliant. And I'm really, really excited for him to talk about the shape system, one of the most underutilized systems inside of Fusion. And I know I'm going to learn a lot. I know you guys will learn a lot. So thank you so much for being here. And we will see you on my channel again here in about an hour. Okay? So don't go anywhere. You know, I said don't go anywhere. What I mean is you can go somewhere, but you have to come back. I mean, not come back here. You come back to my channel in like an hour. You just follow the directions.